Hi, this is Remembering the Past, the show where we talk about people who've died recently who've had a profound effect on our history, our society, or our culture. Tonight we're going to start out with JoJo White, who died recently at the age of 71, one of the great players both in college history and NBA history, and one of my favorite players. In the era before there were NBA specialists, JoJo White was a combined shooting guard and point guard for the Boston Celtics of the 1970s. Played on those wonderful teams that had John Havlicek, Dave Cowens, role players like Paul Silas, and were coached by Tommy Heinsohn, and they won the 1974 and 1976 NBA championships. And JoJo White was a big reason for that. JoJo White could do everything. He could play fast, he could play slow, he could control tempo, he had one of the best pull-up jump shots in NBA history, and he had incredible stamina. He was always in great shape. He came from St. Louis, went to McKinley High School. I saw one picture of him with a Vachon jersey on, so I'm wondering if he transferred from Vachon to McKinley. He became a Jayhawk. He went to Kansas, largely on the strength of watching Gale Sayers play football at Kansas, the Kansas Comet, watching the superlative moves of Gale Sayers on the football field and the great basketball tradition at Kansas are what brought JoJo White to Lawrence. He was an All-American there, one of the great players in Kansas history. He was involved in one of the most controversial plays in Kansas history. They were playing Texas Western in 1966 in the Midwest Regional Final. Texas Western went on to win the NCAA championship, the first all-black team to do that. But they were actually almost eliminated by Kansas. JoJo White hit a shot at the buzzer to beat them, but a ref made a controversial call that he had stepped out of bounds just before he took the shot. Texas Western went on to win the game in double overtime, and then, as I said, they won the national title. But if it wasn't for that call, JoJo White might have been one of the few players to win an NCAA title, a gold medal, and an NBA title. JoJo White was an All-American at Kansas. Then he went on to play for the Olympic team in 1968. They did not have Lou Alcindor, but they had a young 19-year-old Spencer Haywood and a guard from North Carolina, Charlie Scott, who went on to play with JoJo White for a while with the Celtics, and they won the gold medal. He was drafted in the first round by the Celtics in 1969. He was also drafted by the Dallas Cowboys, who thought he could play football. And by the way, they had a great scouting system then, so they must have known something. Problem was, he was also drafted by the Marines, and he had a 2-year commitment to the Marines. But that crafty Red Auerbach, nice Jewish boy from Brooklyn, got JoJo White out of his second year of Marine duty and got him to play for the Celtics starting in 1970. So JoJo White did lose a year of his career to Marine service. But I don't think there's any question that it helped his conditioning. And ironically, he was inducted into the Marine Corps Sports Hall of Fame in 2009. Anyway, with the Celtics, he was just a great player for years, and he often had to play against some very tough competition. The Walt Frazier Knicks, the Oscar Robertson Bucks, and the Jerry West Lakers. He still holds the Celtics record for consecutive games played, 488. The highlight of his career was probably 1976, when the Celtics won the NBA title. The Celtics were tied with the Phoenix Suns 2-2 going into Game 5 that year, and Game 5 is often considered to be the greatest game in NBA history, with the Celtics winning in triple overtime. JoJo White played 60 of 63 minutes in that grueling game. The Suns, who had a younger team, were demoralized after Game 5, and the Celtics went on to beat them in Game 6, and JoJo White was named Championship Series MVP, and he deserved it. In the last years of the 1970s, he suffered injuries which stopped his consecutive game streak. The Celtics franchise changed hands and diminished the role of Red Auerbach, and that was pretty much the end for the Celtics until the Larry Bird era, and JoJo White was ignominiously traded. Even though he remained a Celtic at heart, he was always well-dressed, well-spoken, and a gentleman on and off the court, but as tough a competitor as there was. On defense, he knew the dead spots on the parquet floor of the Boston Garden, and he would always steer the guard he was guarding to those spots to see if he could steal the ball. His number 10 is retired and hung at the rafters in the Boston Garden and now at the TD Garden, or whatever they call it. There is no higher honor than that in Boston. But they didn't get around to putting him in the NBA Hall of Fame until 2015, which is one of the great travesties of the sport. But JoJo White will always be remembered in Kansas lore, Olympic lore, and Boston Celtic lore for his clutch play, that change-of-speed dribble, that pull-up jumper, and that air of class he always exuded. From a personal standpoint, in my high school and college years, JoJo White was one of the guys who made watching basketball a pleasure. We're going to move on now to Dr. Mathilde Krim, who died recently at the age of 91. She was one of the key figures in the early years of the AIDS epidemic in the United States and, in fact, internationally. She was the founder of AMFAR, the American Foundation for AIDS Research, And with her PhD in biology and being married to Arthur Krim, who was a leading entertainment lawyer for Orion Pictures United Artists and also a key figure in the Democratic Party, Dr. Krim was able to raise funds and raise consciousness on the Upper East Side of New York all the way across the country to San Francisco and West LA. She was brilliant, well-spoken, and compassionate, and in the early years of the AIDS epidemic, when prejudice was rife, she helped erase a lot of the stigma around AIDS. I met her once or twice at AIDS conferences, and she was an electric figure, especially from the podium. She was born in Italy, moved to Switzerland when she was a little girl, and actually fought for the air gun against the British in Palestine in 1948. She worked at the Weizmann Institute in Israel, and after she married Arthur Krim, she moved to the United States to the Upper East Side, and she worked at Cornell and Sloan Kettering, but it was her AIDS work where she made her greatest impact. Here's a documentary from AmFAR on Mathilde Krim, and it starts off with her receiving the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2000 from Bill Clinton. That's the highest civilian honor that an American can receive.
Dr. Mathilde Krim marshaled others to establish the American Foundation for AIDS Research, raising awareness, raising millions for research, and raising the hopes of countless people bravely confronting this deadly disease.
For 3 decades, Dr. Mathilde Krim has been a leader in the fight against AIDS.
I became involved in HIV research in the spring of '81, and we had a sense of urgency. We had the people around us dying every day.
From the outset of her scientific research on HIV/AIDS, Dr. Krim boldly confronted broader social and political questions about the epidemic.
The AIDS crisis has also become a crisis of public confusion about the nature of the epidemic and also a moral crisis.
Her courage and her thoughtful advocacy, her willingness to confront and challenge fear and prejudice, changed the public conversation about AIDS.
Mathilde Krim called me and invited me to visit her in New York. That afternoon, I had an awakening. From that time on, I have been a foot soldier in the battle on HIV/AIDS.
Please welcome a true hero and someone I idolize, Dr. Mathilde Krim.
It is important that leadership in the AIDS crisis include countering prejudice and discrimination.
In the course of her brilliant career, Dr. Mathilde Krim has shown us that the benefits of scientific research will only be as great as our understanding and compassion allow.
We want to continue believing and teaching that each human life has the same value as any other.
Well, we're going to move on now to Dorothy Malone, who died recently at the age of 92, just a couple of days short of her 93rd birthday. I made her our feature tonight because she was one of the few surviving actresses who played opposite Humphrey Bogart. There aren't too many of them left. She was a nice Irish girl from Chicago, but she moved to Dallas early in life, and she was a striking brunette, which is interesting, and I'll tell you why in a little while. And she got her big chance in The Big Sleep in 1946, based on the Raymond Chandler story with screenplay by William Faulkner. She doesn't even have a name. She's the girl in the Acme bookstore, and she has less than 4 minutes on screen. But her time with Bogart's Philip Marlowe, where either he seduces her or she seduces him, is one of the great scenes in movies.
Something I can do for you?
Would you do me a very small favor?
I don't know. It depends on the favor.
You know Geiger's bookstore across the street?
I think I may have passed
You
it.
know Geiger by sight?
Well,
What does he look like?
Wouldn't it be easy enough to go across the street and ask to see him?
I've already done that.
Oh.
Know anything about rare books?
You could try me.
Would you happen to have a Ben-Hur 1863rd edition with a duplicated line on page 116? Or a Chevalier Audubon 1840?
Nobody would. There isn't one.
The girl in Geiger's bookstore didn't know that.
Oh, I see. You begin to interest me. Vaguely.
Yeah. I'm a private dick on a case. Perhaps I'm asking too much, although it doesn't seem too much to me, somehow.
Well, Geiger's in his early 40s, medium height, fattish, soft all over, Charlie Chan mustache, well-dressed, wears a black hat, affects a knowledge of antiques and hasn't any. Oh, yes, I think his left eye is glass.
You'd make a good cop.
Thanks. Can we wait for him to come out?
Yeah.
It'll close for another hour or so. It's raining pretty hard.
I got my car. Yeah, that's right, it is, isn't it? You know, it just happened. I had a bottle of pretty good rye in my pocket. I'd a lot rather get wet in here.
Well, Looks like we're closed for the rest of the afternoon. Tell me more about this business.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, thanks.
If you ever want to buy a book,
Been here 1860.
with duplications. So long.
So long, pal.
She should have been a big star after that, but she wasn't. It was almost as sexy as the Bacall Bogart scene in To Have and Have Not. In the 50s, they dyed her hair blonde, and I think she was better looking as a brunette. And she was the female lead opposite guys like Tab Hunter, Liberace, and Rock Hudson. But guess what? For Written in the Wind, which she did with Rock Hudson in 1956, she won the Oscar for Best Actress in a Supporting Role.
A drink. What are your thoughts?
Congratulate me. Just been voted the life of the party.
Your old room. All those wonderful afternoons we used to spend here. And it rained. When it was too cold for us to go down to the river haunt. Wonderful lost afternoons.
Nice dress. Real flattering.
I've changed since we last swam in the Raw, haven't I?
Long, long time ago. I was an idiot boy then.
Yes, you were. There's only so much a woman can do, and no more. I speak from personal experience with you.
You know, you're remarkable. You've got your axe buried in Kyle's head and you're grinding it at the same time.
I can think of much better things than making smart talk.
All right, let's dance.
Still the idiot boy.
Yeah, if only Dorothy knew, huh? Two things about that movie real quick. One, Lauren Bacall was in it, and she made it while Humphrey Bogart, her husband, was very sick. It was released only about 3 weeks before he died. The other thing is, Dorothy Malone does one of the sexiest mambo stripteases you've ever seen. The song Temptation, you should check it out if you get a chance. Here's Jack Lemmon and Jerry Lewis mugging through the award presentation.
Present the award for the Best Actress in a supporting role, Mr. Jack Lemmon, ladies and gentlemen. Jack, it certainly is wonderful to see you, and I would like to take this opportunity to tell you that I am one of your greatest admirers.
Well, Jerry, gee, I don't know what to say.
Just read the teleprompter like everybody else. It's easy. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. The nominees for the award, Best Actress in Supporting Role, are Mildred Dunnick in Baby Doll, Eileen Heckard in The Bad Seed, Mercedes McCambridge in Giants, Patty McCormick in The Bad Seed, and Dorothy Malone in Written on the Wind. The envelope, please. Dorothy Malone in Written on the Wind.
Thank you all so much. I'd like to, I don't know how much time we have, but I'd like to accept this award in the name of my late little brother Bill. And I'd like to thank especially the Academy, because I'm sure that this year, the 4 other girls, such stiff competition, it was I really appreciate it.
Little brother died in a lightning strike on a golf course. She should have been a big star again, but she wasn't. She married Jacques Bergerac, Ginger Rogers' old husband, and they had a stormy marriage. But she became a household name in 1964 when she got the role of Constance Mackenzie in the television version of Peyton Place. That was Lana Turner's role in the movie.
Mike, no.
I want to step up on me again.
Can't go down there. Can't go see Rachel. I have a family to think of, to protect. No, that's not really it. It's just when I cleaned out Rachel's room, I wanted her gone. I wanted everything about her gone.
I know. You opened up the window and you let the air in. But the doctors down there say if you could just come to the sanitarium and stay somewhere nearby for just a couple of days, it would do her so much good.
What do you think I'm made of? Iron. Every time I reach my hand out to help somebody, I get hurt. From now on, I'm going to revert to that very special mother's privilege of being very selfish. From now on, I'm going to think of him, number one. Besides, if I went down there, I'd end up needing a psychiatrist.
That scene was with Ed Nelson. I regret not doing a podcast on him. He died a couple years ago. Anyway, she got sick during the run of the show. They minimized her part. They had a big fight, so they sort of wrote her out. That was pretty much the end of her career. Never as good as it could have been, despite her beauty and her talent. Well, I'm going to close on that note. I want to thank my producer and IT genius, Sid Tepps. We're going to close tonight with a brief mention of Delores O'Riordan, who died recently at the age of 46. She was the lead singer of the Irish rock group the Cranberries. Delores O'Riordan had a tough life. A lot of bad things were done to her. She did a lot of bad things to herself, but she had a wonderful voice. And we're going to close tonight in a tribute to her with her singing Ave Maria, something she sang at the Vatican for the Pope when she was invited to sing along with Luciano Pavarotti.
There's a lot more to life than fame and success and money and all that stuff at the end of the day.
I think I'd probably come back as an angel. I'd like to guide people who are going through similar experiences in life, whisper in their ear, and kind of give them ideas of how to deal with things.